Facebook Live over here, Chris. We got Facebook, Chris. We got Facebook Live. We got it all live. This is my Orlando Mafucci moves.
You're almost starting on time. What's wrong?
Well, I don't know. I felt good about it today.
No?
I felt good today.
Sure.
Let me close our little curtain here because you're too lazy to do it, Mr. Curtin.
I'm just waiting to start it usually at 1 o'clock.
There we go. Good morning, everyone. Welcome once again to Security Tales, Tales. Today, one of my friends texts me up and he goes, "Security Tales, is that with an I?" I says, "No, it's not. It's not Security Tales. We're not chasing tails." Yeah, I was like, no. So, hello, everyone. I hope every one of you is doing well. Thank you so much. Good morning for me.
Morning.
Or good afternoon. Good afternoon. So where today conversation's gonna be, because Mr. Kasha over here basically says that due to his background in what he has done, that he knows about this stuff. Now, me, I'm gonna touch base on just what I've researched, and we're gonna have a discussion today. So once again, welcome to Security Tales. Today we're diving into the wild world of tariffs and how they're shaking up the economy like a good old Boston shakeup. Buckle up, because we're going to talk about how these tariffs are causing waves in the stock market and why some people are acting like it's the end of the world. Spoiler alert, it's not at all. Right, Chris? Everyone's all nervous about this before I start talking my crap.
No, oh my God, it's down 1,600 points. Well, time to buy, people. Time to buy.
That's what I'm saying. Get into it. Purchase it now and purchase it fast. So, listen, first I wanted to say something. So, an old friend of mine sent me this, and I'm trying to find it right now, but it's going to really tick me off if I can't find it. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. 1 second. Damn, it came from my other phone and I don't have it. Jesus. It was an interesting conversation that my friend Tommy Titus had sent me. It was pretty good. It was pretty interesting, but I'll have to go to that phone and send it over, but we'll move on and we'll close out on that one. So listen, I want to discuss the negative of the tariffs first right now. So we're talking about market visibility. Let's face it, the stock market is acting like a Red Sox fan after a tough loss, right? Up and down and all over the place. The S&P 500 is nearing bear territory, and folks are pulling their money out faster than you can say wicked good. All right? I think that's funny. I got to always throw the wicked in there because it's a Boston thing. We got to do the wicked. It's all fear and panic. And honestly, some of these investors need to take a chill pill. So, Chris, let's touch base with that as we're discussing. Like, obviously, we have investments out and we have capital that's invested. Some of it we do on our own. Some of it we have investors do it for us. So, obviously, you just came in and said the market's down and you got a little angry. So, let's just touch base about that. How are you feeling about the market at this time, especially retired? You put all your finances and everything from the Mass State Department, handle your money. How do you feel about that?
Well,
can you give me my Dunkin' Donuts over there?
Here's the thing.
Thank you. Thank you.
First of all, how the stock market's doing has nothing to do with the economy. If you're worried about the stock market, you maybe whether you're worried or not should depend on when you need the money, not what the market's doing. If you need the market money 3-5 years from now, you should not be panicking because it's going to go up and down probably once or twice before that even comes. If you're using the money right now that you have in the stock market to live off of, which people do, older people, or they just need the money now, then guess what? You may have a little pinch, but at the same token, you should be in very, very safe stocks that aren't affected greatly by the market because you're using the money right now. It's all about when you need the money. So if you're using the money now, you should be in safe stock, which means you should be a lot less affected by these market ups and downs.
So short investors like me, I'm that quick guy. I like my money in, make the capital, pull out my previous investment and let my capital go and ride. Most people like you like the longevity of it, looking for the length of time, that it's going to be in there, right?
Right. Well, it's all about when you need the money, when you need the money back. It's not about that's how you invest. I mean, I'm a little bit conservative on some of my investments, but because no one likes to lose money. And but I was talking to my advisor, and he's like, "Look, when do you need the money?" I'm like, 10 years or maybe not at all. And he's like, "Well, therefore, you should be in risky stuff because you're potentially not this money in the market you may not need or 10 years from now. So your sight line needs to be 10 years, not what you can do for me today." I mean, everybody likes to make money next week, but to make money next week, you gotta be willing to lose money next week.
I don't know, Chris. I'd like to call you bullshit cat because you walked in and you said, "Oh, the market was up. Oh, now it's crashed." And now all of a sudden you looked all stressed. You looked all stressed. Stop it.
I was only unhappy because I bought some yesterday when
I bought some
before it went up and
listen,
back down. But now I'm gonna buy more.
Listen, I'm gonna give a shout out though. Hold on a second. I forgot.
Amazon.
I'm gonna give a shout out to my boy Carlos out at Nova's Barbershop today. Gave me a nice little cut this morning. Nice little fine job. Mad love and respect, man. If you guys need a barber, top notch, go see him. He's out of Wilmington off 38. It's called NOVA. But what I find interesting, Chris, is this. As we're discussing it, is the effect of the consumers and the increase in cost, right? So let's face it, the stock market is the stock market is acting like a Red Sox fan after a tough loss. We know that, but the increase of costs of consumers now with tariffs hiking the price of imports, right? Because that's what we were discussing, me and you, before we were even on. As we're discussing the increase of imports, we're all feeling the pinch at the grocery stores, right? Because I'm going back to what you just said, and it's pretty interesting. You know that moment when you look at the price of avocados, which I love, great fat, great intake, I love that stuff, and think, should I just start a garden in my backyard? So that's what everyone's calling me up. I'm going to get chickens. I'm going to start growing my own vegetables. They're like all of a sudden this world is collapsing, and higher prices mean less cash for your Dunkin' Donuts run. Not that I support Dunkin' Donuts, but I do like their French vanilla on a keto day.
Stop trying to
and that's unacceptable, right? If I'm gonna give anybody shout out, it's gonna be Ben Shapiro, my boy. But
in the barber.
Yeah, in the barber. I gotta come on, bro. I get cut every week. I love him. So, but here's my question. I've been watching all these individuals, and even when they were saying this big egg famish and what's going on with no eggs and this and that. And I find it so interesting where it only seems to be around here, but yet I can go to New Jersey, I can go to other states and I can get eggs. So now they're talking about, avocados and gardens and fruits and vegetables.
I mean, what are eggs?
All that.
$5 a dozen? That's still freaking cheap.
I'm going to be honest with you.
I went to Market Basket the other day and there had to be like a couple hundred dozen on the shelves. There's no real shortage. It's like that toilet paper bullshit during COVID.
I agree.
People went out and bought like 300 rolls of toilet paper.
I'm not going to lie. My mother goes to Costco's in New Hampshire and gets me eggs and Perrier water because that's mom. Mad love for mom. Yeah. Hi, mom. So listen, supply chains and descriptions. Tariffs are making it tough for companies to keep their supplies chains on track. It's like taking a cab in Boston during rush hours. Good luck with that. Delays and costs are piling up. And that's not good for anyone's bottom line. So are you seeing this impacting or possibly hearing about the impact? Like,
not at all, because the tariffs really haven't gone into effect. You're not paying for anything more yet for the tariffs.
They went in effect last night, this morning at 12:01 a.m.
Everything that's on the shelves right now aren't tariffs, and 10% isn't a lot. So, and I get these, and I don't want to say, I'm trying to characterize the Democrats, if you will. I don't want to characterize it that way, but
let's just say people.
It seems like, well, the negative people. Let's call them the negative people. So they say this is going to cost the average family $4,000, $5,000 a year. It's like, where are they getting these freaking numbers from? It's fear-monger tactics.
Ooh, I like that word, fear-monger.
Yes, fear-monger. They're trying to freaking scare people. They're pulling these numbers out of their ass. That it's going to cost you an extra $5,000 a year for freaking eggs. I mean, are you freaking kidding me? I mean, I think what's happening.
Is that CC? What up, CC? Mad love for you, love.
Right. Yeah, but I mean,
what'd she say? I can't see that
Can't
far.
see it. What are you blind?
I'm starting to feel it.
Even though I'm older, I think what's happening.
You're
right
not
now is
older.
good.
You're
I'm not
fine
a
wine,
genius, but
Cece.
I
You're
would think for
beautiful.
people like me, invest in only what you can afford to lose. I mean, the tariffs are good. Let me ask you a question. You like to ask me questions. I'm gonna ask you a question. All right. Okay. Why were tariffs originally? I mean, they go back to the 1800s. Why were tariffs originally started?
Why were they? Well, my synopsis of it is I believe the tariffs were started because we're letting outside countries come in and make money off our state and country without us getting anything reciprocal back on those financing. So that means anyone could walk in, make their money, and bring it back to their country without us getting anything out of it.
Well, what they were originally designed to do is help.
Is that wifey?
Is help. Yeah.
Hello,
It-
Dr. Wong.
it's
Beautiful
help-
as always.
help
Mad love.
developing countries to develop. So you had an ABC developing country, and we're going to import beef to them, butter, whatever it may be. And but they also had their own beef and they had their own butter. So what they would do is they put large tariffs on the stuff that we would import to them or export to them. They would import it from us. These large tariffs would make the people of that country, even though they may want American butter as opposed to their butter, for whatever example you want to use. So the large tariffs made our product much more expensive, which forced them to buy their own country's products, which helped them develop as a nation. So it was kind of like, we're overpaying.
So we're supporting you to build your own
right.
your own economy.
In some of these developing nations are nations that are fully developed that have just still want to be on the lam. Like what I was reading, like Switzerland has like a 300% tariff, 300% on our like dairy.
Yeah.
I mean, why? It's.
But also what I've been seeing is a lot of these since President Trump put forward this tariff, some people are sitting with him. I was hearing Japan, I was hearing all these other countries, which I heard there was only 45% of tariffs were going out to China that Japan was bringing in, and 95% of China's products were purchased by us coming in that were at 34%, I think it was. And now all of a sudden, what's the number? 100, 104?
That what import or
yeah.
We sell them 143 billion, but we buy 439 billion.
439.
So it's 300% more that we
purchase
so
it.
That's why when Trump says it's going to hurt them more than it's going to hurt us, that's what he's talking about.
And I'm thinking like the global tension out of this, and let's not forget the global drama that's occurring right now. With all this tariff talk, some people are worrying about international tensions leading for something more serious. I mean, come on. We're not trying to start World War III over a trade dispute. Excuse me. I'm hearing my phone ringing over there, and I'm like, why is that phone ringing when they know I'm on here? And that's not exactly the Boston Strong spirit we're known for. That's all I'm hearing is get ready for World War IV and, forget III, forget this. And I'm like, how did we, just from a tariff, all of a sudden we're going into a war? We're actually dealing with people now that are literally getting in fistfights over this on the streets over a tariff. It's like the impact of this, causing this effect. I'm just amazed by it.
And keep in mind, there's other things to these tariffs. Tariffs mean money, exports mean money for the country, and there's a bigger picture that we have to look at. When Biden allowed Iran to start selling oil again, because we stopped selling oil, when they allowed Iran to start selling oil again, which gave them much more, billions and billions of dollars more, which allowed them to fund terrorist groups like Hezbollah and the Houthis. So now they were able to fund all these organizations because they were allowed to sell oil. Same thing. Now, China needs this money to fund their military. If you haven't seen, China's military is larger than ours, and projected to be several times larger than ours in the next 15 to 20 years because of the way they're building ships. Is that a big deal? I don't know. Are we going to have World War III? I don't think so, but China's made it very clear that they want Taiwan back. When China goes to take Taiwan back, we will act, and that will be that will be a war. And when
I'm gonna have to suit up because that's my wife's country, right. Man. I'm gonna have to back her.
And it's peace through strength.
Yeah.
If they have 3 times as many people and aircraft carriers that we do, they're going to have the balls to attack. If they don't, it takes us 3 times as long to build this ship as they do.
Okay. All right. All
So
right.
there's other things.
Read what Tommy. I always want to make sure we stay interactive with people.
Stock market just rose higher because of Trump policy.
Really? I didn't even see that, Tommy. I gotta get another TV put up here so we can see that all happen.
Tommy, right now it's down 1,400 points.
You got that, Dr. Wong. Of course, I'm gonna back up your country.
Yeah, one of the biggest makers of semiconductors.
Damn right they are. We were just discussing that. I go, I never knew. I go,
Yeah.
I never knew you guys do semiconductors.
And just like just like Russia's taken over Ukraine, he's spending billions of dollars to take over, but he's going to get trillions of dollars worth of resources. So that's why he's doing it.
All right. Tommy, I am gonna, once I get a second, when we're towards the end of this, I want to basically read that thing that you sent me, which I found very interesting. What did he write?
He says up 8% this morning, but right now it's down. But it's all good. I wanted to go down freaking 20%.
Yeah, I need.
Then I'm gonna go.
Tommy, you know us, bro. We gotta dump money in. We gotta dump it when it's low and make those money and when it's coming back. So listen, now that we kind of just turning negatives into positive, right? We're sitting here and we're discussing so much things that everyone, like, I built that page off everyone that's basically coming up to me. Truthfully, I'm not looking for an argument. I just believe in what I believe. You believe what you want. They believe what it is. I don't think anyone's underneath us, and I don't think I'm not looking for a competition or a fight is what it is. I'm just saying what matters to me, and I understand that you feel it's impacting you in a different way than it's impacting me. I'm not from money. I was never from money. My mother came here from another country with my dad legally, and he busted his butt until he passed when I was very young. My mother bought a house all by herself with no education, no nothing, no help, no grants, no Section 8 stuff or anything. I remember my mother, where they offered her reduced tickets. My mother basically ripped up that form and threw it back in their face and says, I can give my kids $1 to go eat. So I'm a different generation of things. So I'm not looking for free handles and free handouts. And I know what it's like to have nothing and then to develop yourself. I have a company. Is my company affecting me right now? Absolutely. I went from 228 employees down to 100 employees, down to 80 employees. So I feel not the impact from the tariffs. I just feel the impact in just generational control. And what I mean by that is my abbreviation for it is the children are different. Like my ages are between 20 and 30 in their respect of financial support of themselves. Like they're not looking of leaving home. So when I go and speak to them, and I made a few phone calls to some of my staff, they laughed about the tariff. And they said, am I still getting my check? And I said, absolutely, you're getting your check. They said, well, I live at home. So they're not seeing any value. I remember when we were kids, we were being taught to invest, to save, to put your money in CDs, to put this and that at a young age. So I think it's as children at the ages of 18 and up that they should learn about what's really going on in this world and not follow and be little sheeps to hear somebody over here preaching better or using bigger words and better terminologies to turn around and say, oh, listen to me. And yet we're over here saying one thing, relax, but make your money, save your money, invest your money the proper way. And once again, I think you have to have that following from the right individual. So let's go into investor education and adaptation. But hey, here's the silver lining. This market madness gives investors a chance to learn and adapt, which I just said. Basically, you got to adapt to it. It's like a crash course in financial strategy. If you can ride this roller coaster, you'll be ready for anything. Just like the seasoned Boston driver navigating the big dog. Okay, it's like, yeah, I know, Chris, you don't like my little jokes that I throw in there, but I love them. Sometimes I think they're hysterical. Oh, hold on,
I'll give you another big word. Analogies.
Analogy.
Yes.
Where did I say? And what did I say?
Analogy. I say when you compare when you compare one thing and use a simple, like something like your Boston traffic, that's an analogy.
Okay, thank you, man. I appreciate
There you
that.
go, bro.
It's good to know that my wife's sitting beside me and
Yeah,
corrected me.
yeah.
Hold on, I got to tell you
I
something.
gotta, want me to
Hold
stop?
on,
Want me to
I
stop
got
for you?
I gotta jump into this. So the other day, and I'm sorry, sometimes I gotta drift off, and
Sometimes.
I think it's interesting.
If you think
This is
it's good,
gonna
it's good.
loosen up everybody. So I'm over there and I'm eating lunch. So I had my doctor's appointment, the whole thing with the heart. I'm good, and everything's perfect. I'm happy. Gentleman sitting here out of nowhere comes over, sees me, introduces himself. I start talking to him. Guy who was hysterical. He says, "Hey, listen, looks like you got a lot on your mind." He goes, "Let me tell you something." And I said, "What?" He said, "Why do chickens not wear underwear?" I looked at him and I said, "I don't know." He goes, "Because their pecker is on their face." I thought that was hysterical. I could not stop laughing. Then when he got up to leave, he says, "Hey, get the turtle soup and tell them to make it snappy." It was like, I'm sorry. I just thought this guy was hysterical and I loved
Bunch of
him.
one-liners.
I thought he was great, bro. He was great. So listen, we're going to encourage domestic innovation. Tariffs might just push our local industries to step up their game. I know some people are going to disagree because they're going to say, where are we going to get the force? Where are we going to get the products from for developing and this and that? Companies could start innovating like they're in Shark Tank episodes, right? Because I'm watching Shark Tanks and I'm seeing these people and I'm seeing like, known fact, there's more billionaires and millionaires that are self-made than taught. You know what I mean? And I watch these people on Shark Tanks, and these people are driven in. They come up with these great concepts, or they come up with old ideas, and they reinvent them again. Okay, so I just look at it, coming up with new products, improve their process, and keep those jobs right here in the US. You know, that's how I look at things in positive. Like, why do we continuously, and help me with this. Why are we purchasing farm products and everything from another country? Like, I don't understand it. Can't we grow stuff here ourselves? I always get confused by that. And they're saying that's why we need immigrants here because they will work for lower costs. That sounds like slavery. And I know we discussed this probably in our past podcast that happened, but I'm still confused when people say that.
People are just trying. People are just trying to pay less. We need to bring, and you're not going to bring it all back, or whatever. But we need to bring back more manufacturing to the United States, which will bring back more jobs. Which, yeah, okay, maybe I may pay a little bit more for my lawnmower because it's made in the United States as opposed to China. But you know something, we're supporting the United States. We're not supporting China, which goes back to my other thing where they build up their military and everything else. And China treats their people like shit because they just want the country as a whole to be bigger, better, and to take more things. But there's like, what was the number? 900,000 factories closed in the last X number of years in the United States. Look at all the they call them mill towns.
Yep.
You know mill town. What is it like? I just because of my area, like Clinton,
Yep.
Milford. There's a lot of mill towns that did very, very, very well, and a lot of people had money there because they were manufacturing there. Manufacturing is left, and the mill towns, unfortunately, a lot of them. I mean, those names some out here. They've kind of gone in the reverse. They're not the better. They were the better place to live, but now they're not the better place to live because things are leaving. Look at Detroit. Detroit is terrible. It's one of the
Collapse.
because the factories are still there. They can
Mhm.
still be put back into operation, but Detroit's one of the most dangerous places in the country.
Yeah.
The highest crime rate, highest murder rate. Because the factories left, the jobs left, people left, businesses left, and he's
Now
just
they
trying
had
to bring it
Ford or
back.
something there, right? Harley
They
and
had
Ford.
everything. I mean, they had everything there.
Yeah, and they
You
all
know,
just closed up
uh,
and left.
Now keep in mind, if you want to buy a BMW, for example, you can still buy was it the X series which is the SUV, the X is made in South Carolina. So therefore you can still
I
buy your
didn't know
BMW.
that.
You can buy your BMW without a tariff. And remember, the tariff's only on stuff that's coming into the country from other countries that could be made here.
Okay.
I mean,
So
we
you're
have
talking about supply chain and resilience, right? Because then if you're saying that we're going to do it here, like companies are facing challenges, like you just stated, right? So, but this also offers a chance to make their supply chains more resilient. They'll be diversifying an investment in local production, so everyone can work together in it, right? Because now we're working independently with our own country and building up our own supply. Why is it, do you feel that Americans that live here want to outsource so much?
Cheaper, just cheaper.
What, to hire workers?
No, yeah, you're back to the lawnmower. The lawnmower that's made in Mexico is going to be a hell of a lot less to buy than the lawnmower made in Texas or anywhere else, because the labor costs are higher. And you got to look at it from a company's point of view. If they're making widgets, which is pretend
That
thing,
term, yeah.
and they can save and they're making tens of millions, and they can save half a penny per widget, which they can save a hell of a lot more than that by outsourcing it. They're going to do it because their bottom line is, 1 penny times 100 million a year. It's real money, and they have an obligation, not to the CEOs, not to this, not to that, but they have an obligation to the stockholders in that company to make more money, which makes more money for them, not for the billionaires. But
what was that guy? You remember this guy a long time ago, and everybody was buying his footwear. It was one guy because he was donating all this money. And he was making millions and millions, and he was sending it out to Africa. Then go to find out he was paying like a penny to have them make the shoes for them, and they were nothing like he said. But he made millions, probably even billions, and his shoes aren't around anymore. That's what I get confused with. And I know we're going off the script with the tariffs, but how do you own a company here and have to pay? I think it's what, $15.65 to start rate, but step one, how does that financially help anyone survive at $15? That's a kid rate. You got to be living at home and stuff like that. And even when you get into, and I'm sure I have staff that are watching this and whatever, but even making $17, $18, $19 an hour, I don't even think that's a good supplementation to help you provide your family or anything. And like it or not, you got to be making $50,000, $60,000 a year. And that's just the baseline of your salary. But how do you, like, I know from my perspective of it from a company, if I have a client and a client's telling me to provide services to him, right? They give you a bottom dollar fee of what they're willing to pay you. So for instance, if he gives me $5, okay, now I have to figure out, after my 6.25 taxes, after my FMLA, after my Social Security, after all that, right? Plus my overhead cost with everything else. So now I'm taking a good $3 from that without even paying myself, without even paying out the company. Meaning if I have my trucks and I have my cars and insurance and everything else, how do they expect us to survive to have employees in order to pay for these other people? And now it's like, I've been getting stuff from clients like, oh, the tariffs are kind of hitting us right now. I'm like, hitting us? It just happened. It just happened. How are you cutting costs down? Can you bring your costs down? If I bring my costs down, that means I'm paying what you're paying for the person. Let alone, I own a security company. My taxes a year. No, I'm sorry, not my tax. My insurance a year is over $112,000 a year, and that's for insuring my company. Okay, so how do you have companies like us survive?
Well, let's talk about the minimum wage, for example. I hear a lot of people touting they want to raise the minimum wage because a person raising a family.
But hold on, before you even discuss raising it, there isn't anybody that makes that. Every company will start you at least $1 to $2 more than the minimum wage.
Right.
So I don't even know what that argument is. Right. I don't know anybody that makes $15.
That's what I'm going to get at. They're talking about raising the minimum wage. I don't think they should raise the minimum wage because, like you said, a grown adult who has a family who's going to work for a job and he's staying there working 40 hours a week is going to get a hell of a lot more than minimum wage. Whatever it is, it's going to be more than minimum wage. So by trying to just raise minimum wage to try to help this person, which you're not helping because he's getting $25 an hour, and you want to raise minimum wage to 18, all is really doing is helping the high school kid. The high school kid who's working 20 hours a week. Now he gets a raise, and now that's going to affect things. And I had young kids who worked. I don't, minimum wage was fine for them. They don't need to get their minimum wage raised because you're going to raise minimum wage for hundreds of millions of people.
You're getting minimal work,
right?
Giving someone the exceeding amount.
You get somebody who's working part-time. Your high school kid doesn't need to get paid.
And that's how I base it on. To be honest with you, I base it on the investment into the company, meaning like if you're a full-time employee, I will turn around and some people I will take a little loss on them because they're worth keeping. Other people is they treat you like it's an everyday thing, like whatever, I'll just go and get another job. And they don't understand job hopping as much when you go and actually get that real job that you're looking for, and they see how many changes. And even if you leave it off that you've never worked, they're going to ask you what those gaps are and stuff like that. But I just find that so interesting. But go ahead, keep going.
So that's why they don't need to raise minimum wage. But I want to switch gears back to our topic at hand. So I mentioned this before we talked, but one of the big reasons why Trump is trying to stimulate the economy, trying to get the bond market going, and trying to lower interest rates is, everyone's looking at this when the huge crisis is over here. In less than a year, so our national debt, what is it, $33 billion roughly? Our national debt's $33 billion.
Thought it was trillion. Yeah, I was like, whoa, we've gone down.
Yeah, we paid it off.
DOGE, baby.
So our national debt's $33 trillion. Almost $8 trillion of that 33 needs to be refinanced in the next year. Now, anybody who has a car loan, house loan, or whatever knows something about interest rates. If we were paying on that 8 trillion, if we were paying whatever 3% when the rates were down on that 8 trillion, and now we're gonna have to pay 8% on that 8 trillion, that's gonna, that alone, the interest on it alone will put us out of business, because there's also a debt ceiling that we have of 36 trillion. So we cannot surpass the debt ceiling of 36 trillion.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And we are almost right now. They're thinking next year our interest alone is going to be $1.2 trillion.
So, since you said that, why is everyone blaming Trump for this?
Because they're just looking.
Isn't it something that's built up over time? It's not something that a guy just walks in an office in January and then all of a sudden says, "Oh my God, he changed this and that, and now it's affecting."
What is it? All right. So, So, for example, 33 trillion is obviously a lot of money. Let's look at it as a percentage. Biden grew the debt by over $6 trillion by April of 2024. So what, 3.5 years into his term, he took the debt, let's use the 33, from 27 to 33, which is insane considering our debt of $27 trillion was our debt from the beginning of time.
And now it's what?
And now it's 33.
So what, hold on.
25%.
You can't play both of the sides of the fence. What did Trump do before Biden took over from him?
Well, I don't have those numbers, but if it went from 27 to 33,
let's see.
Let's see. It hasn't. Hey, they all grow the national debt, and like I said, I don't like having debt. I really don't. I have very little debt, but I was reading an article, and I guess it made some sense that don't worry about the national debt. We're never going to fucking pay it off, and that's an unfortunate truism. But what you need to do is you need to look at the national debt as compared to the GDP. That's the thing you have to look at, because if our GDP is 20 trillion and our national debt is 33 trillion, that's not good. Okay, because our national debt, our debt is way more than what we take in every year. You want to have your GDP, more than your debt, and that's the problem they got to look at. And even though, like for example, I was looking at Russia. Russia's debt is it's insane. It's like $500 billion, which in perspective is nothing. I don't know what they're doing right, but their national debt is very low. Maybe because they export so much oil, but he's been running that war machine, which is extremely, extremely expensive.
Okay, so I got a question for you. So obviously we knew when Trump was in office because of COVID and everything that had occurred, correct? Right?
Well,
was that 2019?
The beginning of it, yeah.
Beginning of it. It says Trump approved 8.4 trillion of new 10-year borrowing during his full term in office, or 4.8 trillion excluding the CARES Act and other COVID relief. Now it says President Biden, in the first 3 years and 5 months in office, approved 4.3 trillion of new 10-year borrowing, or 2.2 trillion excluding the American Rescue Plan. So it basically states that the gross new borrowing at 443 billion of deficit reduction during his full presidential term was Trump. All right. And then in Biden, it was a 1.9 trillion of deficit reduction. It says net to 10-year debit approved.
Right.
So
But his new borrowing, now you're saying his new borrowing, new loans?
no, I'm talking past. We're just talking
Right.
past. We're
But
not talking about
new
anything.
borrowing could also be refinancing of debt,
Okay.
because that's it's a little bit ambiguous there, because that's 7 point. You can't blame somebody for refinancing old debt, because
Yeah, he
that's
he
all we have.
incurred
Yeah.
debts when he took the
Right.
office.
That's unfortunately all
Yeah.
we do is incur debt. And granted, COVID was one of the worst things that happened to this country as far as financially, because
I still think it's the flu. So
all the money. Oh, it's not.
that's
It's
it. I still
all the
think
money that we gave away. I mean, the state police looked in. They had a task force. They put 50 guys on this task force to find all this money that people swindled. And the guys.
So hold on, since you just brought that up, you guys also had to deal with the implementation of officers refusing to take the COVID vaccination that all got termed, correct? That are all rehired now.
There's a lot more to that than not that many got fired. Nobody should have got fired, obviously. Not that many got fired. The real number, because what they did is whatever they only got 2/3 through the list, and then they froze the list. And the people who got fired aren't probably getting their job back. The people who got frozen on the list and were just lucky enough they didn't get to them got their job back. That's only half the story. The bigger part of the story is my classmates. I have several classmates. We only had like 21 years on the time. The real story is the people who retired early to avoid the COVID shot. This way they didn't get fired, so they had a chance of coming back. But they retired early. I know numerous of my classmates that retired early to avoid taking the shot. Now, by retiring early, they probably cost them. One of my friends, crazy man,
Oh yeah,
probably lost freaking 40% of his pension by retiring early.
but you said he can come back.
Yeah, well,
that's the good thing about the state police. You can come back after retirement, correct?
Yeah, it's not that easy. And
okay.
That's if they went that's they let you. And something you got to remember, these people are probably a little pissed off, a little jaded. That they got forced out of their job and lost lots of money.
Yeah. Once again, this is Boston Babel anyway, so me and Chris go off the rip. So listen, so I'm thinking strategic negotiations, and let's hope that these tariffs lead to better trade agreements, which I believe they will, down the line. It's about time we get fair shake. Maybe we'll finally level the playing field with countries that have been pulling a fast one on us for too long. Looking at you, China, not Chinese people, but in China in general. I feel that we've let them take over us way too long with this matter. There's a lot of money that we've lost, and I don't understand why so many people have such a great working relationship with them, but there's no respect. And what I appreciate about Trump is when he shakes a hand, he demands you to look at his face and shake his hands over. Like, what's that guy's name? I always forget. And I'm not trying to disrespect him, from Ukraine, the president.
Zelensky.
Yeah, Zelensky. I just think right off the bat, I don't, it's like, whatever. He had a great singing career. He was in this band or whatever. But I just think, I just think the pure audacity of him walking in without his suit on and wearing sweat clothes or military clothes, like you're going out to the field and fighting this war with them. I think it's a pure disrespect. You know what? If I'm in an environment where I need to wear a suit, and I don't care how controlling it is, I'm gonna wear it to get that contract. It's like you gotta act like you're playing field, and I just think that it's just pure disrespectful anytime I've watched him. And I think he's a very intelligent guy. He's a very, very well spoken. Obviously he sat in front of that whole thing with Vance and Trump, and big argument ensued, and he sat there and he took the brunt of it all. But once again, it leads to the tariffs. It leads to the amount of finances. How much money was given to this guy? How much weapons was given to this guy? He wouldn't have lasted that long without half of the stuff being given to him. Okay. Which is another conversation for a later time with the amount of money that was given to, but yet we have people that fought for us. You know, you have 18, 19-year-old guys that went away and committed themselves to Vietnam War, that committed themselves, that are now, you know, handicapped and whatever. What are we doing for these people? I know a guy personally that dealing with Agent Orange right now, you know, and it just came to him now, years later, and it's paying stuff out of his own pocket. And it's like, this guy fought for us. You know, do I support war? The answer is no. But do I feel that it's sometimes you need to step up to the plate and take control of an action that needs to go? Absolutely. So I feel that, you know, obviously China is coming up, but I feel that China is probably the biggest country that's ever taken advantage of us, and we can't stand fast, you know?
Well, my opinion on tariffs, I'm not for or against them so much. My opinion on almost everything, whether it's our big hot topic, immigration, crime, whatever, it just needs to be fair. And I've said it 100 times. You know, it's state police. I don't care if you kick me in the friggin', you know,
Nuggets
in the soft spot, but as long as you kick everybody in the nuggets, it's fine. It has to be fair. If they charge us 8, we charge 8. If they charge 50 or 0, then we just charge the same, because it should all be fair, and that's all I care about. That's why I guess I like the tariffs. It's hard to find information before, because you Google tariffs, all you find is this new shit.
Yeah.
I want to I want to go back, and if China's been charging us 50 and we charge them 5, well, that's wrong. It should be the same. If it's 50-50 and we happen to buy a lot more from them, well, good for them. That's their win. But who needs to step up? Okay, now we don't want to keep on giving money to China. Communist nation. They're building their military for a planned takeover of Taiwan and maybe other things in the future. So we don't want to give them money, because that's how Iran got back up. So countries that need to step up, and I think they would love to step up: Philippines, Taiwan, and certain other countries that
Japan.
Japan, that we do buy stuff from. So
what is Tommy right?
They can fill the void.
What did he say? Does he say what?
Right on, Chris. There we go, brother. Yeah. I'm actually talking about the subject at hand, Titus.
Yeah. Forget him, Tommy.
Yeah.
You've known me way too long to know. Yeah, Matter of fact, do you know how you know Tommy?
We're talking about what he had for lunch yesterday.
Do you know how you know Tommy?
How?
We went to a Patriots game, and I'm sitting there, and we're all in the stands, and I yelled home run instead of touchdown.
Yep.
And everyone stopped. Weren't you with us that time?
No.
I swore you were with us.
No.
And I yelled home run, and all these girls go, "No, it's a touchdown." And Tommy grabbed me by the head and goes, "Just shut up."
Well, see, I just think that's normal behavior for you. So maybe I may not have.
Hey, I'm a fly-by fan.
It wouldn't stick out of my head, but yeah. So we need other countries, which they'll be happy too, because it'll be good for them, good for us. Probably getting a better product, and they need to step up, because you are aware that China steals everything, all our technology.
I did not know that.
They are unbelievable thieves. Here's one small example, but it goes to 100 other things, to very sophisticated things, to very minor things. So I bought my kids this awesome little go-kart, right? Freaking lights.
Aren't they big now?
Huh?
Aren't they big?
Oh,
what's somebody in their 20s driving a go-kart for?
Dude, well, this was years ago, but me and you this thing was so big, me and you could fit in it. Full roll cage. It was pretty cool. So anyway, I buy my kids this go-kart. I'm having problems with the motor and the carburetor, stuff like that. So I bring it to this guy. It's whatever. I won't even say it direct. It's whatever name, but it was a Chinese engine. And I'm like, where the hell am I going to get this friggin' part? I never heard of this friggin' engine before. And he's like, oh, don't worry about it. I'm like, he goes, just get a Honda carburetor. I'm like, Honda carburetor for a Chinese? He goes, yeah, what they do, and this is motors to 10,000 other things. They'll buy a motor, for example, outboard motor, an inboard motor, an engine, lawnmower motor. They buy it, they reverse engineer it, and they clone it. So now, all the research that goes into years and years of research of making this motor, they're just freaking reverse engineering Honda's motor. The parts itself may not be quite as good because they're going to be making them cheaper than Honda. So he goes, yeah, all the parts can just be interchanged.
See, that's interesting you say that because my wife's got me hooked up with Amazon. I live on Amazon. But what I've noticed is as you click on a product, so I get my vitamins through them, all of a sudden you'll have the main seller, which is actually the place that makes it. And then you have 9 other companies at such a lower cost. But then if you order it and you look at the bottle, it's actually a knockoff of that product. And it is made in China. So you start to realize you're purchasing stuff, like you just said, of stealing the right product, because I've done some certain products from them and been like, why am I so sick? I know I wasn't sick like that. So that's interesting you said that. Tommy put 2 things up there.
15 countries will be making deals on tariffs expected, that announced today. And it was Murph and Harry that got booted. We nearly had to find a ride home. I don't close that down.
I love you, Tommy. I love you.
But yeah, I mean, and they probably do this. That's one example of probably 100,000 products. I mean, anything they can do, and it's wrong. But hey, if you're Chinese, you're happy because it's smart on them.
Yeah.
So they just they'll just copy everything that's made well.
So what I want to do also is, because I find this thing that Tommy sent me so interesting that he texted to me, and I do apologize.
All right.
Give me 1 second, Facebook people.
All right, good. Well, you look at that. I'm going to talk to Tommy. So, Tommy, did you know that they're predicting by September 2025 we're going to reach our debt ceiling? We won't be able to borrow anymore, and that's a bad thing. They could relieve the debt ceiling, but who wants to go further in debt, which means further in interest? And here's another tidbit for you. 2023, we paid $658 billion just in interest. By March of 2024, it was 1.2 billion. And that's indicative not just of borrowing more money, but borrowing more money at a higher rate. If anybody who has a freaking mortgage, look at buying your house at 3%, and look at buying your house at 6%. You're not buying it. That 2 or 3% is going to make the difference between what you can buy and what you can't buy. So that's huge. China, which I found interesting that they're in debt at all, but China's in debt $13 trillion.
To who?
Just in general. It's so our debt of 33 isn't like countries. All these countries hold our debt. People hold our debt. Bonds. People buy our bonds. So out of our 33 trillion, only 8 trillion of our debt is held by foreigners. And actually, Japan is one of the biggest. Japan, UK, some of the biggest holders of our debt because our debt is good debt. Japan holds $1 trillion. China holds about 750 million of our debt. But if you're buying a bond, you want to buy a bond from the United States or some third world nation where you may not get your money back, because just because it's a bond doesn't mean you're getting your money back. So that's why countries buy our bonds. But you can buy a bond. Just go online, buy a bond, and you buy a U.S. government-backed bond.
Sad to say, I had to send all my daughter's bonds to her in Canada.
So,
that's
another thing. Increases to our national debt that every September it goes up significantly. Because they have to finance all the student loans.
Huh? I didn't think of that. That's right.
Every September when they send out all that money that nobody's fucking paying back.
So, just to touch base, and I do appreciate you sending that, Tommy. Did I hit the camera?
I don't know.
Damn, I hit the camera, Chris.
Did ya?
Damn.
That's all right.
Must have hit it with the hat. Hold on.
That's enough.
Is that good?
Yeah.
All right. I don't want anybody saying, can't see us or whatever, and then freaking whatever. So listen, Tommy sent this, and do you follow what's that thing that Elon Musk switched to? It's not Twitter anymore. X. There's a girl on there. I shouldn't even say a girl too. I apologize for that, but the person's name is Trump Girl. So once again, I'm just insinuating that possibly it's a girl. So I want you to hear this, and I found this so interesting because it's all about everything that's been occurring since Trump's been there. And I thought it was very well written. It says, Basically, when they abandoned millions of dollars worth of military equipment in Afghanistan, you said nothing. It said when they flaunted a two-tier justice system, one for them and one for everyone else, you said nothing. It said when they covered up the Hunter Biden laptop, you said nothing. When they passed a $1 trillion infrastructure bill that failed miserably, you said nothing. When they forced Americans to take an untested vaccine, you said nothing. When inflation crushed the middle class, you said nothing.
This could go on forever.
Well, yeah. Did you read this?
I read there's a lot of
Yeah.
shit.
When they sent billions to Ukraine, you said nothing. When chemicals polluted the water in East Palestine, Ohio, and they ignored it, you said nothing. When Americans were raped, robbed, and murdered by illegals, you said nothing. When they implanted Kamala as a presidential nominee without getting a single vote, you said nothing. When billionaires and anti-American George Soros funded dozens of AG elections, you said nothing. When they turned our classrooms into liberal indoctrination camps, you said nothing. When they spent our tax dollars on inmates' transition surgeries, you said nothing. When they gave the citizens of Hawaii $700 after losing their entire city, you said nothing.
Yeah. So if you get North Carolina.
When they gave free money, food, and 5-star hotel lodging to illegals, you said nothing. When they came for our free speech, you said nothing. When DEI weakened the military and put our national security at risk, you said nothing. When they colluded with the media to push false reports, you said nothing. When it was open season on law enforcement and criminals reigned, you said nothing. When they weaponized the justice system to take down their political opponents, you said nothing. When the bureaucrats took over the White House and ran the government, you said nothing. When they covered up Biden's rapidly declining mental state, you said nothing. When they groomed our kids in schools and hid it from the parents, you said nothing. When the drug epidemic exploded and thousands died annually, you said nothing. When they accosted the Jews on their campuses, you said nothing. When they weaponized the intelligence agency against Americans, you said nothing. When they spent $45 million on diversity and inclusion scholarships in Burma, not talking here in the US because I'm a minority owned company and I'm part of this. In Burma, you said nothing. When they let men play women's sport, you said nothing. When they chanted death to America and burned our flag, you said nothing. When they shut down our energy production and emboldened Russia, you said nothing. When the crime rates in America's cities increased, you said nothing. While thousands of veterans were left to sleep out on the streets, you said nothing. When 300,000 migrant children went missing and no one had a clue, you said nothing.
Oh my God.
Couple. When Joe Biden pardoned his friends and family, you said nothing. When they sent billions to Iran and inadvertently funded Hamas, you said nothing. When men were celebrated for pretending to be women, you said nothing. When they let a Chinese spy balloon sail across America, you said nothing. When 50 intelligent agents all lied to bury the Hunter Biden laptop as Russian disinformation, you said nothing. When American citizens were taken hostage and held for a year in Gaza, you said nothing. When Facebook admitted they conspired with Biden administration to censor the truth, you said nothing. When they cleaned the streets of San Francisco for the communist Chinese president Xi Jinping, you said nothing. When Fauci and the WHO peddled COVID-19 virus lies and covered up origins, you said nothing. When they sealed the January 6th commission files or lost them, you said nothing. You saw the corruption, the lies, and the bad policies, the anti-American agenda, and said nothing. So please spare us your crocodile tears and all your fake hysteria. Now, for 4 years, you watched this country get run into the ground, all fronts, and you said nothing. Now it's the Republicans' turn. So how do you feel? And thank you for sharing that, Tommy. But how do you feel that this person touched based on everything? My only argument is with the Kamala Harris, she could get placed in that position, correct? Without it being voted in, as long as the House brings her forward, she could skip over that.
Two things. On what they did, and I do believe Biden with his ego was trying to run again. But whatever, that's insane. But they waited long enough. So there's time frames, there's dates. It's not just you can do this, you can do that. There's dates. They waited long enough not to open it up to other Democratic nominees. They waited past the deadline, whatever the deadline was. I remember hearing at the deadline say whatever, September 20th. So September 25th, what they did is, well, we're past the deadline for other Democratic nominees. The only person who can take this is Kamala. So they waited purposely past the deadline. And I think Biden was still like, I'm fine, I can run.
Bagging in the walls.
Yeah, but they waited past the deadline. So there wasn't time enough, because now you'd have to go through the whole process again,
Yes.
all these nominees and figure out who's the best. So they did that on purpose. We said nothing when they also drained our oil reserves. So that was on Kamala.
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 Yeah, we got to have to respect.
I got a funny story, true story about Biden. So I was at I was working at a promotional board for New York. So there was troopers and lieutenants and captains and majors from all over the Northeast. And I met like a captain from New Jersey who was, we were on the same board together. We're talking or whatever. She told me this funny story about Biden. So they were doing an escort, because no matter what, when the Secret Service does it, the state police usually come in and escort them with the bikes and everything else, because they don't have bikes. So she was telling me a story about doing an escort, and they were told, hey, we have to pull off to this school up here. So they pulled off to this little school, and they're like, oh, well, what are we going to see, little kids? What are we doing to go see? So they had to pull off to this school. And lo and behold, Biden had to grab his extra suit because he shot himself. And that was
this before or after he had his ice cream?
Dude, that was like at least 2 years ago. 2, maybe 3 years ago. It's like, I guess they would carry extra clothes because.
Listen, I can't talk.
Yeah, well,
because it's happened to me a couple of times, so I can't laugh. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just don't make it where you think you're gonna make it.
Yeah, but bad enough to like, you fart, now you have to change your clothes. It's
Listen, no, it wasn't even a fart. It just came out. It was like I was almost at the house.
I don't know how that happens.
The embarrassing times of just.
Do you have things stuck up there to loosen up these
like it or not, when I'm stuck in business, that's all I focus on is business. Even if I have to go to the bathroom, I'm like, no, I got to finish this. And then just before I think I'm going to make it, it is what it is. Either you love me or you hate me, but I'm not embarrassed of anything.
I can't remember the last time I shot myself. I mean,
Hey, listen, I really appreciate everybody joining us today. Just a shout out to everyone, and I really appreciate you guys paying attention to our nonsense. And please, I appreciate everyone that was on that had written some stuff. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for comments to come over. We're looking for arguments. And I shouldn't even say an argument is a bad thing. It's constructive argument that we're looking for. I mean, you know what? If you can educate me and Chris on matters that we need to know about, and once again, we do research and we do look into it. As Chris, when I use more than, as my wife says, 3-syllable words, sometimes I need help. At no time I'm embarrassed about it. It is what it is. I speak different languages and I speak them well. And like it or not, when it comes to American stuff, I do get confused in some words, even though I've been here my whole life. But it is what it is. I am a product of who I am. But so while it might feel like the sky is falling right now, there are opportunities hidden in this tariff chaos. Let's all keep our heads up, stay informed, and maybe even throw a little humor into the mix. After all, we're Boston strong and we'll navigate these waters together. Stay tuned for more insights and stories from the industry experts coming up next. It's just like, I didn't even tell you this. So I have also a friend of mine that I was introduced to from my wife, actually. Her name is Annalise here, and she's a divorce attorney. And I've been getting a lot of stuff from friends and from other people, that are all going through situations, and her being
Absolutely.
a female. So
we need to get her on.
She basically just hung up with me just before this. And we're gonna talk. Come on, Tommy. We always love you, bro. Loved you before this. Love you to wherever, man. You
Hey,
know that. Solid.
Just in case Tommy's leaving, let me say one thing. Tommy, thank you for all your input. I wish other people would input. I would love people to call me up and tell me I'm wrong. I'm cool with that too. And I'm going to say it right now. Felipe, when we have a subject matter, I think you need to tell Tommy what it is so he can prepare for it.
Listen, Tommy did know. Tommy was sending me something.
Okay, but did he know? All right, but did he know something?
I text Tommy all the time.
Make sure,
Tommy's a park ranger in Texas. I don't like to bother him all the time.
Well, come on, he's not doing anything.
He is. He's saving animals. He told me he was carrying some dead something.
We got to make sure Tommy has a couple days notice so he can chime in and.
No, definitely. I'd love to have Tommy and Cece, because Cece is very intelligent, and Cece is actually a world champion in skeet shooting. She shoots those skeets. She's like in magazines and everything. And I've had the honor of meeting her, and I consider her family. Great friend, and I appreciate everything that she's done for me. But I'm getting excited to have Annalise on, and just because I want to touch base, and it's not in a disrespectful way. It's more of a an open eye way. Meaning, like, when I first met my wife, I didn't know my wife was a doctor there. I thought my wife was basically
here it goes.
A person that worked there. I didn't think so, because there was a guy there. No, there was a guy there, and the guy across the thing says Dr. Wong. So I automatically thought he was Dr. Wong, and I wasn't there to see her. I was there to get to see an esthetician. So I said, "Oh, who's that?" They said, "That's the doctor that owns the practice." I go, "It's a woman." And automatically, I thought how rude, how stereotypical it was of me, of a man, to think that a female couldn't have that type of position. So one of my questions is going to be to Annalisa is basically, how did she feel that to get into legal work, knowing it's a dominant man's world? And unbeknownst to me, she said there's more female attorneys and female judges than there is males. I don't know that because I'm never in trouble.
And not for nothing. If I'm picking a divorce attorney, I'm picking a female.
Yeah. So we are planning to have her aboard, but also I want to extend my apologies to YouTube. Yesterday I had a very good friend of mine, John Citrano, not yesterday, Monday. He did a great presentation on the importance of handling your weapons, and the importance of gun control and LTC classes, and educating at that level. And I didn't know there was limitations on YouTube. Once again, I wasn't testing it. I wasn't anything. I'm not that educated when it comes to a matter like that. I should have taken my time and read about what the legality issues are, and also what the stipulations are. Like, if obviously we're going to upload videos to Spotify, Rumble, Apple. We have those accounts. We just have not done it yet. but I want to personally extend my apologies, because at no time that I ever want to do something like that to cause a situation or to impact a channel like that. But anything that you want to say on that, brother?
No, I've when are we having her on?
So I spoke to her today. She has court cases all next week, so we're talking about one more week after next, or 2 weeks. So she said that she'll probably be on with us at that time, and then we have some other guests. We will be having Peter coming back from the owners and operators of Golden Banana Squires and everything. Like I tell everyone, please have questions prepared for us. Have anything that you guys want, and we just want to have fun and enjoy our time with all of you. And thank you so much for taking your time and to subscribing to us on at Security Tales. And please hit a bell, and either don't hit the bell and tell us we suck, or tell us thank you so much. You guys are comical. I've known Chris since we were kids, so we've had this banter since we were kids. And you know what? I'd really appreciate you guys all, taking your time out of your day. And for those of you that catch it up afterwards, just please tell people, subscribe, help build us, and whatever you guys want to talk about, we're here. If not, we're just gonna be picking our silliness.
Absolutely. It was hopefully we spoke with some sort of intelligence here, but it's an interesting thing. Maybe people will not worry. Tommy, stock market's still down, and no, I'm not stressed out about it, because now I'm gonna go home and buy some more freaking Amazon.
Oh, before it slips my mind too, with the Tommy, right? I'll send you some animal videos.
Yeah.
Hey, Tommy, keep them clean. Hey, listen, I also forgot that due to the fact that Karen Farrell, Dr. Wong, I will be having her back on, and we're going to be discussing GLP-1. So there's big uptake about GLP-1, Monjaro, and all these things that people are using for diets. And also, we're going to have a discussion on HRT again. A lot of people have been asking about the progesterones and estradiols and things like that. And also just reactions from it and things that are happening, the bad and good about it. So stay tuned for that. We'll be putting that up, and I'll be letting you guys know when we're going to have that on. So I think it'll be a great show with her again. Very intelligent. And also a shout out to Lainey. Looking forward to having you back on, touching base on some other stuff with you about it. But everyone, I really appreciate your time. God bless. Be healthy, wealthy, and stay strong.
Thank you all. Have a great day. See you, Tommy.
Be blessed. Later, T. Thank you so much, everybody.